Hello, and welcome to Live Parkinson's, Live an Exceptional Life. I'm your host, Chris Kustenbacher, and I've been living an exceptional life with Parkinson's for the past 13 years. This podcast is focused on the 4 strategies that I've used to help me live an exceptional life for these past 13 years. I developed these strategies after doing extensive research on Parkinson's disease and then studying exceptional people who are diagnosed with Parkinson's but still were able to accomplish great things. This podcast is designed for people living with Parkinson's, their family and friends, caregivers, any other supporting people to help build a great community and great quality of life for people living with Parkinson's. In this episode, we'll examine the 5 powerful benefits of living with a positive attitude. We'll also take a look at what the difference is between optimism and positivity. Is there a difference or are they the same? How are they interconnected? And then finally, we'll provide some strategies that you can use to help you live a more positive life. But before we get started, I have a brief disclaimer that I'd like to share that this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat Parkinson's disease. Please ensure that you are following the treatment plan that you and your physician have designed based on your specific health needs. Information being shared is based solely on my personal experiences living with Parkinson's disease and implementing these 4 strategies. So, let's dive into today's topic, which is the 5 benefits of living a positive life. After receiving a Parkinson's diagnosis, we may experience many different emotions: anger, denial, sadness, and probably the last thing on our minds is, hey, I'm going to live a positive life after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So, if we have all these negative thoughts going through our head, how do we turn the ship around? How do we prevent these negative feelings from consuming us? Because it really, if we distill it down, boils down to 2 choices. We can take the road on the right and live a limited life, drop out a lot of the activities that we enjoy, and limit ourselves with friends and family. Or we can take the other road, the road where we control Parkinson's and don't let Parkinson's control us. And that's the road that we want to take. And living a positive life is going to help us get there. So, this episode is going to provide the many benefits of living a positive life with Parkinson's, but also it's going to provide strategies that you can use and implement on a daily basis to help you live a more positive life. Because if you're living a positive life, you're going to have a great quality of life. All right, so to give you a roadmap of where we're going today, we're going to take a look at, first of all, the benefits. What are the 5 benefits of living an exceptional life with Parkinson's? Then we're going to take a look at optimism and positivity. Are they the same? Are they different? And how do they go together? And then finally, we're going to tie it all together with the strategies that will give you the ability to help become more positive in the way you approach a daily life. And then hopefully that'll lead to a great quality of life for both you and your family. So let's get started looking at some of the benefits of living a positive life. Of course, there are many benefits. 5 is not the magic number, but I just wanted to distill it down to 5 benefits because I think these kind of encompass a lot of the other benefits that people may get from living a positive life. And again, this isn't just focused on people with Parkinson's. This is for anyone that wants to improve their quality of life by looking at life more positively. So it's not only going to help people living with Parkinson's, but it's going to help family and caregivers as well. So let's pull back the curtain now and reveal the 5 specific benefits of living a positive life. Okay, number 1, improve mental well being. Okay, what does that mean? Well, number 1, it helps us to develop resilience to stress and other negative factors that come into our lives. It could be loss of a job, loss of a family member, divorce, kids going away to college. There's a lot of different stressors out there. Your kids in sports and you're just have hectic schedules and you're running around back and forth. So what do we mean by developing resilience? First of all, what is resilience? Resilience is a belief that you can overcome challenges and achieve really any goals that are in front of you if you're willing to face adversity. It can help you stay motivated when things get tough. So overall, there's some research out there that suggests that people that are very optimistic and have a positive attitude can also realize a number of health benefits, which we'll talk about in a little while. But let's look at some specific examples of what we're talking about when we're saying it improves our overall mental well-being. Okay, an optimistic person with a positive attitude is diagnosed with a chronic condition, which is someone with Parkinson's, is more likely to follow a treatment plan. So if you've been diagnosed with Parkinson's or another chronic illness, you're more likely, if you have a positive attitude, to follow the health plan provided by your physician. But you're also resilient. There's going to be days where you wake up and you feel like you got hit by that bus and your joints are stiff, maybe you're having cramps, you have a tremor, your balance is off. I mean, we've all experienced that, and we go through that on a daily basis. But people that have a positive attitude are more likely to push forward, even in the face of those challenges, and still have a great day. I want to give you an example of a base. It's a story of how living a positive attitude can really change a person's life. And I want to talk about my friend John Smith, who was one of my best friends in high school, and my other friend Scott Conkle, who I talked about in the book as being one of my heroes. But the three of us, pretty much did everything together, and then we stayed in touch after high school. And each of us had families. Scott had two children, a girl, Josh and Janelle, and then John had he was married to Tina and had three boys, Brandon, Kyle, and Alex. And then I'm married to my wife Mary, and we have two kids, Emily and Derek. And so we a lot of times we get together and do things even though we lived in different towns. So we still kept in touch after high school, which is, kind of a rare thing that you still have the ability to be able to stay in touch with your friends from high school. But when John was 36 years old, he was diagnosed with a cancer called GIST, which is essentially where he had tumors growing in the linings of his organs. He still continued to do the things that he wanted to do. For terms of resilience, John was a person that was resilient. He still coached soccer. He was involved in all his kids' activities. He still worked even after the 12 surgeries until he was 49 years old. He pushed through the adversity and just lived a positive life and showed others that they could do the same. And in the last year of John's life, I think he was 49 years old. We would go out to lunch, usually every 3 to 4 weeks. And we would talk about, a little bit about John's condition, but we would also talk mainly about our families. And John was just proud of his family, and he just wanted the best for his family. And that was his biggest concern. It wasn't about him or his diagnosis. It was, making sure his kids and his wife were taken care of, and that they grew up to be productive, citizens. And it was, I don't know if you've ever read the book Tuesdays with Maury, but where the writer went and visited his friend that had a terminal illness, and they would visit and talk about life, and that's the way we were. And John, we've got to October of the year he passed away, and it was really the end of October. And I still remember what he said to me. He said, I don't really care what happens to me. He said, I just want to make it through the holidays, because his wife's birthday was at Christmas, and he didn't want to ruin the holidays for his family. So it wasn't about him; it was about his family. And I said, John, you look great. I said, you'll make that easily, but unfortunately, the cancer took hold, and he passed away at the beginning of December that year. But we still get together with his family. In fact, I was just at his oldest son's Brandon's wedding, and still it was great to see all the family and share stories. But one of the things that John wanted at his funeral was for people to celebrate his life, not to be sad. And so my friend Scott and I, because we were all great friends, were asked to do um, to talk about John. And one of the things that we did was we told great stories, and we told funny stories, and people laughed, and they really got to see John as for the person that he was, and the great father he was, and great husband he was. So it's all about how he approached his life. So when I think of resilience, I think of someone like John and his ability to weather through even the toughest of conditions. So, to tie this part up, it's living a positive life can actually help not only you, but it can help others around you as well. So if you approach life with the idea and the zeal that think that you can turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts, I know it sounds trite, but it's true. There's a lot of research that backs it up, that people that live a positive life are going to be have a great quality of life, and that's gonna be conveyed to others. So, optimism and positivity have a number of different benefits within improved well-being. One of those is it helps to reduce stress. I mean, we all have stress in our lives, and no matter what it is, the more we can reduce it, the better it is for our health. So if if we can reduce stress, that's going to go a long way to helping us have a better quality of life. It improved mood. I mean, who likes to wake up angry and grumpy? I know I sure don't. I like to wake up and be grateful for the things that I have and look forward to a great day. So it's going to help improve your mood as well. It's going to increase your resilience. We talked, I just gave you I talked the story about my friend John. So people that have a positive attitude are more resilient, and when challenges do come and adversity does come, you can stare it in the face, you can push through the walls, break down the barriers, and overcome the adversity. And at the end of the day, you're going to feel great about yourself because you're going to look back and say, I didn't think I could do that. I didn't think I could get past that challenge or adversity, but I did. And then if you want to learn more, I recently wrote an article on my website, liveparkinsons.com, and it was called Parkinson's and Optimism. And what I looked at was its effect on cognition, and then I provided 3 practical solutions. So if you're interested in a little bit more about how it's improving your well-being, visit my website and take a look at that article. All right, moving on to benefit number 2, enhance physical health. You're thinking, well, how is positivity and optimism going to help my physical health? Well, there's a lot of research out there that people with a positive outlook are more likely to engage in healthy behaviors. And what do we mean by healthy behaviors? Regular exercise. So, what do I mean by regular exercise? Well, I'll just give you, from my own personal perspective, I like to do different types of exercise. Exercise was strategy number 1. If you had the opportunity to listen to podcast number 1, I talked about the 4 strategies. Exercise was number 1 because I felt that it was the most important. And attitude is number 2. I have a strong passion for attitude and positivity. So, in terms of regular exercise, it's gonna have a lot of different benefits. And by improving health, what I mean is I take a soul fusion class 2 days a week, which is a combination of yoga, cardio, and Pilates. I do a bar class, BARRE, and in that class it's a lot of stretching, aerobic activity, stretching, balance, and Pilates. I do a deep water swimming class, and I also do a spin class. Now, one of the reasons I do these is because of the camaraderie that I feel being part of the group. I mean, people lift each other up and are just genuinely happy that you're there, and they have a good time. So I built up a lot of great friendships by going to a lot of group fitness classes. And one of the biggest main ones that I've gone to that, and I talked about this in the first podcast, was a program called Momentum that was developed by Susanna Gillespie and Jen Winters at the York, PA Jewish Community Center. And it's designed for people with Parkinson's and other neurological disorders. And it's an exercise program that encompasses everything: cognition, balance, stretching, flexibility. Pretty much targets all the motor symptoms as well as non motor symptoms. And a lot of times when new people start, they're very apprehensive and think of dropping out after the first week based on, some of the talk to. And we encourage those people to stay. And when they stay, they find out that everybody there is there to cheer them on and wants them to succeed. And they've come a long way, and now they're excited to be there. They go 5 days a week, and we've actually become quite a family. So we do things outside of work now. So we do a monthly breakfast and a monthly lunch. We do monthly social activities. So having a positive attitude can really help, not only with exercise but also bring together. You'll make friends and be with people that you want to be around when you're involved in exercise. Another part of that healthy behaviors is a balanced diet. Now which is strategy number 2, nutrition, and I talked about that in the first podcast. I talked about macro nutrients. I talked about proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And I also talked about making sure that you get your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals. So if you eat, people that live a positive, optimistic life tend to eat a more balanced diet than those that don't. And then finally, it helps with people with getting adequate amounts of sleep. They tend to have a regular sleep schedule. They want to be in bed at a certain time, and that's going to help them feel less fatigued and tired the next day. Other things that, in terms of how it can help your health, is it helps boost your immune system. And gives you a stronger immune system. I mean, it helps to release a lot of endorphins and some other things too that are going to give you a positive feeling. But let me give you an example of how it can help your immune system, and also it helps you heal faster. I'm a big football fan. I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler football fan, and I'm a big fan of hockey. And my Pittsburgh Penguins are my favorite hockey team. But in both of those sports, they're not just contact sports. If you've ever played them, they're actually collision sports. And if you think of a collision in your car, well, that happens on a daily basis when you're out in the football field or you're out in the hockey rink. And, eventually those collisions can take a toll and, cause some devastating injuries. And a lot of times, people are told that they're going to be out for 3 to 6 months or they're going to be out for the rest of the season. But if you look at a lot of those professional athletes they have a positive attitude and they have the drive and motivation to get back to playing. And some of those people that were told it would take 6 months are actually back out in the field, you know, after a month or two. So it's a positive attitude is really going to help with your immune system, help you prevent a lot of different colds and some other things, but it's also going to help you heal faster after injuries. Now, it is important to note that having a positive attitude doesn't mean that you're never going to have negative feelings. I mean, let's be honest. We all have negative feelings from time to time, but we don't want to let the negative feelings overwhelm us, to take control of our lives. So, what we want to be able to do is take those negative feelings and negative emotions and turn those around into positive thoughts and positive emotions as quickly as possible. Because think about when you dwell on negative emotions, there's a lot, people get headaches, they feel sick to their stomach, they become anxious, get depressed. I mean, nobody wants to live like that. So if the quicker we can turn around our negative thoughts into positive thoughts, the better our quality of life is going to be. So it's important to focus how you think about things and how you position them in your mind to help you turn those into a positive. So how do we do that? How can we develop a more positive attitude? Number one is focus on the good things in life. I mean, I know we all take for granted a lot of the good things that we have, and if we can focus on the good things that we have and the good people and the people that we associate with, you're gonna live more positively. And one of the things I like to do is wake up and write down 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. It's a great way to start off the day. That was another thing to mention, is that make a list of what you're grateful for, but spend time with positive people. I mean, we all like to be around positivity attracts positivity. I mean, when you're around positive people, you're going to have a great experience. In fact, I wrote an article called "Life Changers: Heroes, Coaches, and Mentors" on my website. So if you get a chance, check it out. But what I talked about in there is, how do your heroes, your coaches, and mentors make you feel? So I'd like to ask a couple questions. I just want you to sit and close your eyes for a minute and think about the question. And number one is, how do you feel? How does it make you feel when you think about your heroes? When you were growing up, you probably had some heroes. And what was it? How did they make you feel? Close your eyes and picture a moment where you were around your hero. What do you see? Is there smells? Can you hear sounds? What was it? But I'm sure that if you think back to those times, you're going to have a real positive feeling, and it's really going to make you feel good inside. Why do you consider these people your heroes? What was it? What characteristics they have that you wanted to emulate? Maybe you still emulate those today. I know I do. I mean, a lot of my childhood heroes, I still emulate everything I've learned from them. I'll give you an example. My grandfather was a country doctor, and he made house calls. He lived in a rural area. I mean, he had an office, but lived in a rural area, and there was a lot of people that couldn't make it to the doctor's office, so he would do house calls. And a lot of those people couldn't afford to pay him, so they make him a pie or some other baked good or something like that. Or he didn't really want to take it, but he did that, to make those people feel good. And so what that taught me is you try to help people no matter what state they're in, because we're all going to have difficulties from time to time. But if we can help take the burden off other people, then the world's going to be a lot better place. So he was one of my heroes. And then, so if you think back to your coaches and your heroes, I just want you to feel that positive vibe, positive feelings. And if you conjure those up in your mind, I'm sure it'll bring you back to a great place. Now let's move on to number 3, neuroplasticity. That's a big mouthful of a word, neuroplasticity. Well, that's great, but what does that mean? Sounds pretty technical. Well, it means our brains are not fixed and are always changing, and we can adapt and respond to different experiences that we have. Okay, that's great. What does that mean? This means that we can learn new things no matter how old we are. Let me give you some examples. When I turned 54 years old, I decided I wanted to learn how to play guitar. I didn't know anything about the guitar, but I loved to listen to guitar when I went to concerts or I went to listen to live music. And really, the only musical experience I had was playing some drums back in middle school, which was, 45 years previous. So, one of the things that really drew me to the guitar is listening to some of the great guitarists when I was growing up. I was a big fan of rock music, and some of the bands I used to listen to were AC/DC. I mean, I loved listening to Angus Young play "Shook Me All Night Long" and the solo that went with it, "Thunderstruck," TNT, all the classics. I just thought he was a great guitarist, and plus he was great in watching him in concerts because he really knew how to work the audience. Another one was Eddie Van Halen. I was impressed with just some of the technical skills that he had, and just the guitar sound, the sounds that came out of his guitar were just phenomenal. And then Brian May was another one from Queen. I was always a big Queen fan growing up, and Brian May built his guitar with his dad, and he used that guitar everywhere he went. Big Red. Now today, I mean, my musical genres have expanded a little bit more. Now I like to listen to all different types of music, pop, country, also like blues. Joe Bonamassa and Stevie Ray Vaughan are great guitarists. But the reason I bring them up is when I was learning guitar, one of the first things I had to learn was pretty much, I call them the cowboy chords. I think there was 9 or 10 different chords that you could use in 1,000 different songs. And if you knew those chords, you could play for your friends and family. Several of the chords were a little bit more difficult to form. One was the C chord, and the F chord. And then once you were able to learn the chord, then you had to be able to transition from one chord to the other in time with the music. And that could be very difficult. So what I did is I would spend 20 minutes every night to a half an hour sitting in front of if the TV was on, and I would just practice with my fingers moving from forming the chords and then moving from chord to chord to chord. And eventually I was able to do that rather quickly and without thinking about it. And that's what neuroplasticity is. It's helping build those neural connections, and then if we repeat those skills, we get better at the skills. So we're building new neural pathways to help us do some of the activities that we like to do. I like to go fly fishing and tie flies. And a lot of times when I first started, it was very difficult. Even today, if someone gives you a new fly pattern, tying flies with Parkinson's with, some of the fine motor skill issues I have is a challenge. But, I look at it as it's a challenge I'm willing to take, and it's because I enjoy what I do. So the more I practice tying flies, the better I get, and I'm building those neural connections. It's kind of like a gardener pruning out some of the weeds in it so that the plants that are close to each other can make connections. So neuroplasticity it's a powerful tool we can use to help improve our lives. Think in terms of muscle memory. You hear that term thrown out a lot. So if you can overcome a challenge, or you want to take on a challenge like learning a language, learning to play a musical instrument, or what have you, if you continue to practice the skills, you're going to continue to build neural pathways. And a lot of times those are things that you like to do. So not only are you building new neural pathways, but you're also doing positive things. And when you're doing positive things, you have a better quality of life. So the more you can learn and the more you can participate in things that you like to do, the more positive that your life is going to be. And then research suggests that a positive outlook, such as optimism, can really help enhance neuroplasticity. So there's a lot of research on that out there as well. All right, let's take a look at number 4, and that is improve relationships. And I talked a little bit about this earlier, but positive people tend to attract positive energy and other positive people. And that helps build stronger relationships. And I gave you the example of participating in a group fitness class and participating in the momentum group. But, maybe it's groups that you're interested in. Maybe it's the Lions Club, or maybe you're in Trout Unlimited, or, you like to get together and cook with family and friends, or maybe you're in a book club or a wine club. But you typically tend to get into those groups because of the people that are there. So you find those people to be positive, and you're attracted to that. So positive people tend to be attracted to other positive people, and that helps build stronger relationships. I mean, think about it. Do you want to hang around with somebody every day that, how do you feel? Oh, where do I start? And they start telling you about all their aches and pains, and that can be very deflating. And that's, so you're probably not going to want to spend a lot of time with those people, because it's going to bring you down and result in a lesser quality of life. So optimism is going to help you with finding those positive people that are going to help generate a great quality of life for you and your family. Another thing that optimism is going to do is it's going to help with better communication, because people that are positive tend to be great listeners, because they're very empathetic. They're concerned with what the person that they're talking to is saying, and how they can help them through their issues and things. So positive people tend to be very good communicators. They listen first, and then sometimes will ask questions, and then respond. I gave the analogy in the last podcast that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and use them in that order. And I think positive people tend to do that. They tend to listen to people that, to make sure that they understand. It's listen to understand, then be understood, as they say. And finally, it can help you build supportive social relationships. People connect all the time on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. But this, being optimistic helps you not only with the social media, but also just your social interactions. I mean, your family and friends. The more positive you are, the more they want to be around you, and the more you want to be around them. A lot of people do things together, whether it's golfing, they go bowling, go out to dinner, just have, a family get together, or have friends over for game night, whatever it happens to be. Positive people attract other positive people. And then finally, number 5 is increased success and achievement. Now you're saying to yourself, Chris, how can living a positive life help with success and achievement? Well, that's a great question, because if you have a positive attitude, it's going to lead to improved focus, productivity, and motivation. And they're all three of those are essential for achieving success, whether it's on a personal level or a professional level. People that have focus and motivation set goals, and they want to achieve those goals, and they use laser like focus to accomplish their goals. And that's one of the reasons I developed the 4 strategies, is I wanted to be able to have 4 strategies or 4 pillars that I could use and focus on to guide my life and help me lead an exceptional life. And I was able to do that, and I continue to do that to this day. So people with a positive outlook are more likely to set ambitious goals, and go after those goals. There's nothing more rewarding than setting an ambitious goal and then achieving that goal. They're more willing to take on challenges. I mean, some people, even though they have Parkinson's or some other chronic disease, maybe they just sign up and want to run a marathon, or they want to swim a mile, or swim in the Bay Bridge swim, or, whatever happens to be. They want to climb a mountain, or they want to hike the Appalachian Trail. There's a lot of great challenges out there that people face all the time, and positive people tend to set pretty tough challenges, because they want to be able to show to themselves and others that you're capable of doing a lot more than you think you are. And then it also helps you persist in the face of adversity. We're all going to have setbacks, and I talked about resilience earlier in the program. And if you're positive, you're going to be able to push through the adversity and then come out the other side and be proud of yourself for being able to accomplish what you've done. Okay, so those are the 5 benefits. Now let's go back and kind of tie those all together so that we're all on the same page, because I heard a naval officer once say that when you're doing a presentation, you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. So we're in the tell them what you told them phase right now. So we talked about the 5 benefits of living a positive life. Number 1 was improved mental well-being. Number 2 was enhanced physical health. And we talked about the benefits of people tending to participate in more healthy behaviors. We talked about neuroplasticity and how neural connections can help, when you can learn new things. And then we talked about improved relationships. Positive people tend to be attracted to positive people. And then finally, number 5 was that it increased success and personal achievement and or professional achievement. So those are 5 key benefits that I see with living a positive life. Now, let's take a look at some strategies for how we can live a more positive life, because it's great that we know what the benefits are, but how do we achieve those benefits? So let's take a look at, I'll give you 3 specific strategies that you can use on a daily basis to help you begin to live a more positive life. Number 1 is mindful meditation. A lot of times we think meditation is this mystical practice that, monks in Tibet do, or people in monasteries. But really, meditation it's really a technique that's it's focused breathing. So essentially what you're doing is you're focusing on your breath so that as thoughts come in and out of your head, you can acknowledge the thought, but then you just let it flow out. And what it teaches you to do is negative thoughts are going to come into your head. You acknowledge them, but then you let them move on. And so by practicing mindful meditation, you're focusing on your breathing and you're focusing inward. You're not focusing on the negative things. You're going to have positive thoughts come through too. And so it's a great way to help reduce stress by learning to, slow your breathing down, focus on your breathing, and then just let thoughts come in and pass and recognize them for what they are and then let them move on. If you get the opportunity, try to practice meditation several times a week. And I think you'll find that you feel a lot less stress and you feel great about the day. That's the first one. The second one is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. And you're saying, well, what does that mean? What cognitive behavioral therapy tries to do is it tries to get you to reframe negative thoughts and actions into more positive thoughts and actions. I'll give you a personal example. When I was in my 30s and early 40s, I would get some anxiety and panic attacks. And one of the things I read later on is that, a lot of times that could be a precursor to, as a symptom to Parkinson's. But, at the time, you're struggling with it because, you may be having, a lot of anxiety and you don't know how to deal with it. So, I talked to a professional about it. And I did, they had me do some cognitive behavioral therapy where you change your thinking. So essentially what it does is you're changing your thought patterns to focus on the present. If you're starting to feel anxious, if you're in a restaurant, you look at, well, what's the waiter wearing, or what are the people at the other table doing, or what's on the menu? Because if you're focusing and you're staying in the moment, it's hard to have negative thoughts and negative feelings. So one of the things that they do with people with cognitive behavioral therapy is teach you to stay in what they call the precious present moment. And that is just staying focused on what's going on around you now. And that's going to help you mitigate those negative thoughts and push those negative thoughts out and let them float in and out and realize that they're not always true. A lot of times we think, if we think a negative thought, that it has to be true. For instance, maybe you go on a job interview and you feel that, geez, I didn't do very good, or they ask me a question and you start thinking negatively. Well, with anything, there's always several different ways to look at things. So you can approach it from a positive aspect as well and say, hey, I thought I did great, and I'm sure that, I did the best I could, and, maybe I'm sure I'll get a call about the interview. It's all about how you frame your thought and how you can change that thought pattern around. And then finally, number 3 would be gratitude journaling. I talked about gratitude earlier, and I like to write down 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. And they could be big, they could be small. Maybe you're grateful for your family, maybe you're grateful for your pets or your friends or whatever it happens to be. But a lot of times we all do it. We take for granted all the great things that we have in our life, and we tend to focus on the negative. And a lot of that is we're bombarded every day by things in the media and that are negative. So it's real easy to fall into negative thought patterns, and it's a lot harder to focus on the positive. So I'll give you an example. I was watching a video the other day with Simon Sinek. He's a motivational speaker, and he talked about your brain doesn't have the ability to recognize negative things, but it's what your focus is on. So he said, for instance, look, don't think about a pink elephant. So your first thought is you think about a pink elephant. When somebody says don't do this or you can't do that, you immediately focus on that. And he talked about one of the things in the airline industry is pilots know that you don't focus on the lighting tower, because the minute you say that, then you're going to focus on the lighting tower and you could crash. So it's changing the way you look at things and to taking them from a negative thought to a positive thought. So gratitude journaling can help you do that. So the three strategies that you can use for living a more positive life are: number one, mindful meditation. Do meditation on a daily basis. Number two was using cognitive behavioral therapy. If you start having a lot of negative thoughts, start a notebook, write down the negative thought, and immediately write a positive statement underneath. And you'll soon see that after a month or so, that the number of negative thoughts starts to go down and the number of positive thoughts goes up. So it's a way to track your negative thinking, and then it's a way to turn that negative thinking into positive. So there are the 5 benefits and the 3 strategies that can help you live a positive life. And as we close, I would appreciate if you could visit the website, liveparkinsons.com, and sign up for a free monthly newsletter. There's a lot of great information in there to keep you up to date on what's going on in Parkinson's and the Parkinson's community, as well as, try to include webinars and seminars that are available for free online, so that you don't have to spend a lot of time, researching those things. If you could also provide comments and suggestions for improvement, I would love to hear from you. Another thing is, if you could, if you have success stories, I want to make this a community. So if you have success stories, I would love to hear them so that we can share them with everybody else. Because what works for one person may not work for somebody else, but if you have multiple people doing different things, it gives everyone an opportunity to try and apply things that may be important in their life. So I would really appreciate hearing from you and any success stories that you have, because I want to make this a community where we help everybody live a great quality of life, both people living with Parkinson's as well as their family and friends. So I thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you'll join us on future episodes. Thanks again.